camera's rolling.
The first thing I'm going to get you to do is to pronounce your name.
Gaspard Ulliel.
Ulliel.
Ulliel, yeah.
Ulliel, just like it's written, Ulliel. See, we tried to make everything too difficult. And it's Gaspard with the D or Gaspard?
Gaspard.
Gaspard.
Yeah.
No D.
No D.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, I must congratulate all of you on a very long engagement. It's an excellent film, very well made.
Yeah.
Very well acted. And
well, thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed your performance. In this country, I think people are going to see this movie, A Very Long Engagement, as the French version and World War I version of Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, and in fact, it was one of Jean-Pierre Jeunet's major source of inspiration for the war scenes. He was always talking about this movie to the, how do you say, the guy who makes the light.
Yes, the lighting designer.
The lighting designer,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
And so he studied Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, I think he really likes this movie, and he wanted the war scenes to be really hard as they are in Saving Private Ryan. This is the title. Yeah.
When you are filming the war scenes, is it extremely noisy and frightening with all the stuff blowing up around you?
Yes, in fact, it was really new to me because it was the first time I was working on a great production like this with huge sets and there were some scenes with like 300 extras, and this was quite new to me. And war scenes were really exciting because I really discovered all the special effects and yes, the explosions were really frightening because of the noise. It was really, really loud. But we had some earplugs anyway, and I think it was great because there was a really great job that was made by the production designer. So we had a wonderful set, really realistic set for the trenches, and I think it really helped me to enter in my role and to feel more like a soldier. But in fact, Jean-Pierre insisted on the fact that each actor read a book, which is called Les Carnets de Guerre de Louis Barthas, Tonnelier. It's a diary from a soldier during World War I, and it's a really important book for the historians who studied this period of the history. And in fact, I learned a lot of things on the daily life in the trenches, and it was really interesting, and I think it really helped me to get in the mood and to know how the soldiers were feeling.
As I understand it, they actually dug these trenches.
Yes.
And so then, I guess if it wasn't raining, they did movie rain.
Yes.
So that they would be muddy and very cold and uncomfortable looking. Tell me what it felt like when you were hour after hour in the muddy trenches.
Well, it was really hard, physically really hard. I think it's the most difficult part for all the crew. It was really hard because we shot near winter, so it was really, really cold. And yes, we had mud over the knee all day, and I remember the first week we were putting some scuba diving suits under our costumes, because the first week, in fact, we shot for 6 weeks in the trenches set, and the first week we shot all day under fake rain because it's the first scene of the movie under fake rain. And it was really, really, really cold, and so we had some, I remember, scuba diving suit under our costumes, and I just had some allergies with scuba. It was awful, but I think it's part of the game, and it was worth it. So it was great because and I think Jean-Pierre was making us wait in the mud by purpose to get us really tired and feel maybe more like the soldiers were feeling. But I remember with the other actors, we were telling ourselves that it was really hard for us, but it must have been really hard for the soldiers because we weren't risking our lives. And at the end of the day, we knew we could have a good sleep at the hotel, and we could have some hot coffee between the takes. But it was still, really, really tiresome.
And then you would have to put those cold, wet clothes back on.
Yes, every day. And in fact, we were going to the makeup, then to the costumes. We were putting the clothes, and then we had another, like a room where somebody was just shooting some mud at us on the costumes to get them dirty. So every morning we were just under mud, and it was kind of. And I remember at the end of this part of the shooting in the trenches, there was a lot of mud, even if in my hotel room.
Must have been upsetting for the chambermaids. Yeah. Is this the most expensive movie ever made in France?
No, I think it's the second or third movie the more expensive in France. But it's one of the longest movie because we shot for 6 months, and this is really rare for a French movie, and it was great because we could really work in depth and really precisely, and this is really pleasant for an actor. And Jean-Pierre, in fact, Jean-Pierre really likes to prepare everything in advance, really precisely. So when you arrive on the set, you know exactly what he's expecting from you. So this is a way of working that was kind of different from the other directors I worked with before, who were much more improvising and stuff like this. So it's interesting to see different ways of working. But Jean-Pierre prepares everything in advance, but he's not blocked on one idea, in the sense that we make, like, when he knows he's got the good take for the scene, he's gonna do a couple more takes with new dialogues, or maybe adding new ideas or trying new things. So it's really, really interesting and really fun for the actors.
You must have had a lot of time off, though, because there are times, long times, when we do not see you on screen, but you are being talked about, and we feel like you're someplace, we visualize you someplace. What did you do when you were not working, the days you didn't work?
Well, yes, in fact, it was, for me, the major difficulty on this movie compared to my other movies, because usually you shoot during 2 or 3 months, but on 6 months, I had like 40 days of work. And when I work on a movie, I usually like to really concentrate and focus on my character and try not to think about my life in Paris and all my other friends or family. I try just to stay in the mood of the set. And so, unfortunately, on this movie, there were like sometimes 2 or 3 weeks where I had to go back to Paris and then get on the set again. And I had to readapt each time, and this was really, really tough and really hard for me to just get out of the movie and just get in again. But it's part of the work when you have the chance to have this amount of time to work. It's obvious that you're not going to stay on the set if you're not working for 3 weeks. So it was kind of difficult, but when I was not on the set, I was just living my usual life and seeing my friends and going to the cinema. But I think it was a really great experience for me because it was a real discovery, and I discovered a new kind of cinema. Jean-Pierre's Jeunesse cinema is kind of different and from other movies I had made before. And I think what is really interesting is in this job is that on each movie you live a new adventure with new people and a new director and a new way of working, and this is really interesting. And in fact I had to adapt my way of acting to Jean-Pierre Jeunet's cinema, because he has his own way of editing with really short shots and quick editing. So as an actor you have sometimes to express the maximum feelings in a really condensed lapse of time. So this was kind of interesting for me to adapt my acting to this cinema, and I think this is important for an actor to try a lot of different genres or styles of cinema.
Did you go to school to study acting?
No, in fact I began working completely by chance. As when I was like 11 or 12 years old, a friend of my mother was opening an agency and she was looking for young boys. So I entered the agency, but it was more by curiosity than real passion. And I remember that really quickly I was feeling attracted by cinema, but at first I think I was more attracted by the idea of writing and directing. And I was telling myself that I could just continue acting and then maybe later direct. As I'm growing up, I realized that directing and writing is really hard work, and you need a lot of discipline, and I don't feel really ready for this yet. And I know that as more as I work on movies, I'm taking more and more pleasure in working as an actor. And so for the moment I'm really happy with this. But so I took a few lessons of acting in French theater schools, but I don't think it really helped me. Well, maybe unconsciously, but when I'm on sets, I rarely think about what I learned in this school. So I think for the moment my acting is more instinctive than technical.
I usually don't ask people how old they are, but I'm going to break my rule. How old are you?
I'm getting 20 in 2 weeks.
Coming up 20.
Yeah.
So it's November, what is your?
25 of November.
25. My own birthday is November 22.
Oh, great.
So I am Scorpio Sagittarius, and you are Sagittarius.
Yes.
Yes, all right. And I'm really not into signs, but
Me too.
You made 5 films, or you have 5 films coming out in 2004, according to your filmography.
This is a mistake.
Is a mistake?
Yeah. In fact, what are the title of the movies?
I don't have the titles, but it says there are 5.
Trade, André Téchiné's movie with Emmanuel Béard. It came out last summer, and this was great because I really love André Téchiné's movie. I really learned a lot of things with him, and then I just worked with Peter Greenaway, but it's a bit a strange story because I had like 15 days of work and we only shot for 5 days, and they told me they would call me later for the rest of the shooting. And they called one day my agent and told that the movie was stopped for budget problems, and I don't know if I can see some articles saying it's coming out soon, so maybe he just cut the. But anyway, I just did this for the experience because it was great to work with a wonderful director as Peter Greenaway. So this is maybe on the list, and also there's a movie that just came out in France where I had the lead part. It's called The Last Day. It's a really small French movie, and in fact I worked on this movie just after Jean-Pierre Jeunet's movie, and I really liked it because it was completely the opposite. It was one of the lower budget in the latest French movies, and we shot for 6 weeks. So it was really, it was like a rush, and we were always improvising, and so it was completely different, and it was really pleasant to discover a new way of working, and so this movie is directed by a young director called Rodolphe Marconi. It's with Nicole Garcia, Bruno Todeschini, Christophe Malavoie, French actors, and I just finished another small movie directed by Richard Dembo, who made a really great movie like 10 years ago that won some Oscars. I don't remember the English title. It was with Michel Piccoli. It was called La Diagonale du Fou in French. And so I was really liking this director, and he stopped working for a lot of time, and he just made another movie which is called Nina's Home, and it's coming out in October, next October, and it's with Agnès Jaoui, and it's about World War II. It's the story of a woman who welcomes some orphans after the camps during World War II, and we just follow the life of those young boys who relearn to live again. And it's a really great story in which I had a really interesting part, because I'm playing someone who's really traumatized and who lost speech. So it was really interesting to work without speaking, and it's a different way of acting. It was really interesting, and in fact it's a bit sad because this director just died a few days last week. So it's a bit sad. But anyway, I think he just finished the editing.
So what are you doing with all your money?
My money, I don't have that much money. In America, you earn much more money in the cinema business. Well, I just bought a small apartment in Paris for me. So this is wonderful because as I began quite young working on movies, I always told myself, and my parents always told me, the first thing I would buy will be somewhere to live. I think it's important. After you can do like stupid you can spend your money in other ways, but I think the most important thing is first to have an apartment. So I just bought an apartment, which is really exciting for me.
And a car?
Maybe later. I just missed my license, my driving license 3 times.
Didn't pass?
Yes. No, I missed it 3 times.
You missed taking the test?
Yeah, I missed it.
And what age for a license?
Well, in France, you can, at 18, you can have your license, and you can begin driving at 16 with your parents. But I mistaked it. Yeah. So I don't have it. Anyway, I have a scooter, so it's better in Paris because there's always some how do you say, rush hour?
Yes, yeah. Yes. You have a Vespa?
Yeah, Vespa.
Yes, yeah, fun.
Really fun.
Is it your dream, Gaspard, to make a big American movie?
Well, my dream, I don't know, but I would really like to work with American directors, because I think there's a lot of interesting movies in America, and there is also really interesting movies in other countries like Asia. I really like Asian cinema. So yes, I think it's wonderful for an actor to work with foreign countries and foreign directors, and maybe discover new ways of working and new mentalities and new cultures. So yes, I think it would be great if I could once in my life maybe work with an American director. But for the moment, I'm really happy with what's happening for me in France, and so I'll see. But I'm trying to to stay lucid. Can you say this?
Mm-hmm. Loose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I really have enjoyed talking with you, and
Me too.
And I have a feeling that that big American movie will be coming. At least the offer will be coming. But what I admire about the way young people and young actors in France are treated is that you don't have to do a bunch of these silly teenage movies that are just such fluff and just a diversion maybe for young people, but your young people get to do solid roles and create real characters.
Well, yeah, I think it depends on your choice, and you don't have to make silly movies, but I think it's important not to do only how do you say, intimate author movies, not only independent movies. I think it's important to do those kind of movies because I really like smaller movies, independent movies. But I think it's also important sometimes to do more popular movies, but not silly movies like Jean-Pierre's movies. Jean-Pierre's movie is a popular movie, but it's a good popular movie. So I think it's just a question of choosing your movies, and in fact it's really hard for especially for a young actor to make the right choice, and it's really hard to judge a movie on the script, and there's a lot of times when I receive scripts I don't really know if it's gonna be good or not, so it's kind of tough, but that's okay.
It's kind of like going to the casino, isn't it?
Yes. Almost.
Well, again, thank you for coming to Texas. It's been a very big pleasure talking
Me
with
too.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Gaspard. Now,
Stand by, and the camera's rolling.
when you were acting in the trenches with all the mud and the rain and everything, what was that like?
Well, I think it was the most difficult part for all the crew. It was really physically really hard.
Okay. Did you go to acting school when you first started?
In fact, I began by chance. When I was much younger, like 12 or 11 years old, a friend of my mother was opening an agency, and she just asked me to enter it.
That's fine. Okay. Is this the most expensive movie ever made in France?
No, in fact, I think it's the second or third more expensive movie in France.
Do you know what it cost? Do you know what the budget was?
It was 45 million euros.
45 million euro.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How was this acting experience different from other things you've done?
Well, in fact, for me it was a real discovery because it's the first time I'm working on a great production as this one with huge sets and hundreds of extras and war scenes.
Okay. Much of the time in the movie you're being talked about, but we don't see you. So you must have had a lot of time off during this film. When you were not working in the film, what did you do?
Well, yes, I think the major difficulty for me on this movie was leaving the set for a couple of weeks and coming back again, because usually I like to really focus on my role and to stay in the mood of the set.
Okay. You've worked with a number of directors. How was Jean-Pierre different?
Well, Jean-Pierre is, I think, the person I know who's the most hardworking, and it's really impressive. And he likes to prepare everything in advance really precisely.
Okay, that's like Otto Preminger. You know the movies of
Yeah,
Otto Preminger.
I like really
Not
like.
Otto Preminger, Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh,
Alfred Hitchcock, like to prepare. Yes. Okay. With all the movies you've been making, what do you do with your money?
well, I don't earn that much of money if you compare to American actors who earn a lot more of money, but I'm quite happy because I just bought a small apartment in Paris. And
That's good. But that cost a lot. Small
Yes.
apartment in Paris, very
Yeah.
expensive. Okay. Is it your dream, Gaspard, to someday make a big American movie?
Well, yes, actually I think it's really attractive. American cinema is there's some really good American movies and great American directors. So yeah, I would really love to work with them, as I would really love to work with great Asian directors.
Do you have a favorite American director?
Well, nowadays,
Uh-huh. Or anytime?
well, I think there were some great directors like you said, Alfred Hitchcock or Orson Welles or even Howard Hawks, and but I think today, yeah, recently I really appreciated the independent American cinema, like Gus Van Sant's movie, or even Vincent Gallo's movie, or Sofia Coppola's movie. They were really great, and there's some wonderful directors, yeah.
Okay. I think that'll get it.
Okay.
Thank you. That was wonderful.